All right, Namita, the ball is yours.
Thank you, Charles. Good morning, everyone. So in today's session, welcome to the Paris Resource Management. This release is not yet out, so I'm showing you this under the safe harbor. So in this release, the couple of main themes before I jump into the actual demo, I would like to give you some background. Till now, the product works for the resource planning, resource management. In this release, we have main focus on the resource change management. Because in day-to-day life, the resource managers keep changing their resource plans, moving the resources, shifting, replacing one resource with another, somebody is going on leave. So that kind of change management, we have made it much, much simpler now in the Paris release. Other than that, the second focus was on the usability, the resource finder enhancements, how to make the clicks easier and lesser. So we have brought up some cool functionality there, like you can just see over allocated resources versus all resources. You can see the data in the sorted manner, you can filter and things like that. We have also now allowed to post the time on the operational work. In fact, it is more enhanced now because it will just show you, it will give you a capability rather to map your operational work and the plans so that you see just what you should see in the resource plans column when you are posting the time. And we have enhanced the capacity planning. This is still under development, so I won't be able to demo, but I can speak about it. So without further going into the deck, what I'll like to do here is I'll just go into the actual instance. Okay. So in this, as you see here, right, I have logged in, let me log in here as Rosie Matthews. And the first capability which I'm going to show you is that the use case goes like this, that when as a resource manager, I am working on resource requirements, filling them for different projects. So when a project manager request sends to me, it's not necessary that if it is a 1 year long project, I'll just go and commit all the resources for that 1 year long project. Rather, in real world, what we have seen that the resource manager and the project manager, they keep on discussing at a regular intervals. It could be monthly, it could be quarterly, that, okay, should this project be getting the resources, or there is another high priority project where you would like to get the resources. So if you see here right now, I have this resource plan coming my way. I have logged in here as Rosie Matthews. She's a resource manager. And when she comes here, this is say for April and May, March, April and May. And at this point in time, she says, okay, let me just go ahead and take Anna and the Staggery, 2 resources. I don't want to confirm for all the 3 months, softbook, right? So she says, okay, I'll just do it for March and April. So this is how she does that. Then after some time, because, is there any question? After some time, because the things are going fine, the project manager says, can you soft book the resources for the May month as well? Sure, why not? Then she goes here and she just then goes for the May month as well. Now at this point in time, all the 3 months are soft booked because both project manager and resource manager are in sync and they feel, okay, that's the right thing to do. But now comes the hard allocation. And actually this feature is more useful for the hard allocation because rather than committing the resources for the whole 1 year, you just take a call at regular intervals and you say, okay, now I'm going. And so previously what you have to do, click here and then click here, allocate, right? This is how you used to multiple clicks. If there are 5 users, you have to go like this. Now what you can do, you can simply come here and you can say, okay, this is the April month, March is done, good enough. I'll allocate for April as well. This pop-up is important because it tells you all the information which you need to see here. This resource plan is for March, April, and May. 2 users are there. You are taking decision for 2 users. It always starts from the current month, though it starts, resource plan was starting in March, but you see the default is always here will be the current month going till the end. So I say I only want for April. I can go and I can do it for April. Once the April work is done and the project manager, resource manager again have a conversation, she can again go and make it for, for the month of May. What I'm trying to show here is that the problem which was previously there, that, okay, I don't have resources enough, and which project to fill in, which project to leave. Now you can do it as and when the project progresses and as and when you see the outcome is as you were expecting. So that is on the first piece, that now resource manager has more control on the confirmation and allocation. Now, once you have done it, suppose Anna was working, she has been hard allocated also, but in the month of April, Anna tells her manager that she won't be available in the May month, which means somebody else has to pick the work which Anna was doing, right? Previously, there were at least 3-step processes. Resource manager has to go make this 0, project manager has to create another resource plan for Anna, send it for approval, and then resource manager has to approve. Now, this 3-step process has been changed just into 3-click process. How? Let me show you. You just come here and say replace user, because Anna you want to replace. So Anna you are replacing. For which month? For the month of May. So select the month here. With whom you would like to replace. These are the resources which are already there in the Agile group, right? So you say, I would like to replace with Sudhir, okay? Because this resource plan is in the allocated state, if you see here, that is why you are getting here allocate. Had it been in the confirmed state, you will get here confirm, okay? Now, important message is this last piece here. Delete the original allocation in case of the complete transfer. In case of the scenario, think like where Anna is confirmed or allocated for the 3 months, but for all the 3 months, due to some reason after confirmation or allocation, she couldn't work. So the whole work of Anna has to be transferred to Sunil. If that was the case, then you don't want to keep Anna's record at all. So what we are saying that if the complete transfer happens, we will delete the original allocation record, because there is nothing on that record now. Everything has been transferred to the new user. That's the message which this tells you. Okay, now I allocate here. As you can see, Anna's allocation has been removed from here, and it has been gone to Sunil. And Sunil record has been added here for the 16. It was previously also 32, now also 32. Total confirmation has not changed. Only the work has been transferred from one to another. This you have done just in 3 clicks, and it is very easy now. Okay. Now, once the work is done, you have done all the allocations, everything. Sunil comes on board, but Sunil says, you know what, I need some training. I don't think I will be able to deliver this in May. So resource manager says, okay, well, if you can't do that, would it be okay if I shift it into June? Would you be able to deliver in June? He says, yeah. Then for that particular case, the resource manager talks to the project manager, both of them agrees, they have no other choice but to shift the allocation. So they just come here for Sunil's record, go to the shift allocation, and rather than May, now the work will be done in June or delivered in June. So simply they'll come here and they'll say update. Again, it tells you that the resource plan is for March, April, and May. You have just selected the one allocation, which is Sunil's, and you are shifting it from May to June. So I'll just update it. You see the total work is still the same, right? Only Sunil's allocation has been now shifted to June. And because there was nothing in June previously, which means allocation is extended, which means your resource plan duration is now also extended. So this is on the shift allocation. So the last piece is like everybody was think like this work should have been started in March or whatever, right? But due to some reason, the whole work couldn't be started, okay? And now the project manager says, I thought it will start in March, but it is not starting. Can you please make the same allocations, leave them as is, but just move it by 1 month, the whole resource plan. Okay, you can come here, you can say move resource plan. And previously it was starting in March. So now what you can do, you can simply say rather than March, now this work will start in April, which means all the allocations, all the plan, like if I simply say update at this point in time, all the allocations will move along with. So March, now there is nothing. It is now April, May, and June. As you see, I just summarize. Now as a resource manager, you have more control who all should be allocated for which all period. That's the piece number one. You can replace the work of one user to another user. Reasons could be any, right? You can move the whole resource plan without impacting any other work, or you can just shift one user's allocation without impacting the other user's allocations. I'll take a pause here to see if you have any questions on this one.
Hi, Namita. This is Glenn with Vivint. Can you hear me?
Hi, Glenn. Yeah.
Oh, good. So I was kind of listening for the word change. So would there be any capability to, let's say that for Anna, I realized with experience that instead of 11 hours, it's 30 or 5. Can I come here and change a given month upward or downward, or just shift and remove and add?
No, you can change, Glenn. So suppose Anna says, oh, I thought it will take 11 for me. You have given me 11, but 5 is enough, right? So you come here as a resource manager, you change it to 5. And right now, see, it is 11. I'll just move it to 5. And that's all. You can make any change here. Or you can say, oh, Anna needs more hour. She needs 14. You can say 14. So this is like, you can make the changes. Yeah. Only time when you can't make the change is, and that also, suppose you are in the week mode, right? In this week, Anna has posted some time. Then you cannot make the change, but you can make the change in other weeks where the time has not been, actuals has not been gone in. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay. If not, let's move on this one. So then once all this change management is done, let me just come and show you some changes on the resource finder side. So on the resource finder, now you will see that we have changed, and let me bring in all the columns to show you. We have changed the order of the columns, because if you ask me, it makes me as a resource manager, it is good to me if I see here like what is the capacity, and then what has been booked. Either it is soft book or hard book. So capacity minus booking equals to my availability. That is why we have moved into this logical order. Capacity, soft allocation that is confirmed, hard allocation which is allocated, and then availability. Which means now what is my percentage utilization? And a new column has been added, which is actuals here, because as a resource manager, I would always like to see, okay, what was committed for Anna and how much she has been put in the actuals. Previously, you have to go to other reports or places like that, but now everything is here for a resource manager at one screen. You can see end to end about the allocation, actuals, and percentage utilization. So this is a new column. Another thing which I would like to show you here is, and let me just change the group for a moment here. So for example, I am the user who would like to see for the analyst group, right? So at this point in time, if you see here, I am seeing by default, you will see this view, which is like all your over allocated users and the available users. Now, most of the times I have heard resource managers saying, we don't want to see this noise like these over allocated users. What we would like to see is the users who are available, because my main idea of coming to this screen is to book the resources. Well, if that is your main use case, just select here, show available users. And you see here now it is green, because it tells you that filter has been applied. And now you will not see any noise, which is like over allocated users, you won't see. Even if you log out and you come back here, this filter will persist for you. And anytime you can go and you can, anytime you can go and you can change it. And this time you would like to see, okay, just show me who all are over allocated in this time period, and you will see that. Okay, so it's up to you what you would like to see. This filter will always, the value will persist. I'll come back here. So this is another piece. And the third piece I would like to show you here is this information, as you see here. Let me just go back to my original group here, Agile group. So this information which we were using till now on all my resource plans, as you can, there is some problem I think on this system, but this information will be in the sorted order. And operational work will always be at the end, and these names will be like in a sorted order, the first order as well as the second order, which again gives you a better view. So that's the another piece. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much is on this screen. I'll again take a pause to ask if you have any feedback, or if you would like to see something, whatever I have shown till now and we have not done it, you would like to see it in the next release.
You need to explain again.
Sure, Kelly.
Is there any plans to update the date on the resource finder, whereas now it shows, it lets you choose the next 3 months or the previous 3 months, but up above it lets you put in a range, that kind of a custom range. Seems like it would be kind of helpful to have the ability to do it here. Any plans for that?
Yes, there is. So that is in my backlog, and very soon that you will see that this will also be made better. Not in Paris, because this is the last sprint for us, development sprint. But yes, this is in the backlog. Thanks for bringing it up. I'll take a note.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so let me just go back onto my screen here. So I have just shown you confirm for a specific period, allocate for replace user. I have shown shift allocation, move resource plan, and the last one is the system property. So what we have seen in the past is that when you used to, as a as a project manager, when someone moves the project is moved, and if it has any confirmed or allocated resource plans, those resource plans used to go back into the requested state or canceled state, depending upon the time period of the resource plans, right? So now that has been fixed, that has been made better. So if you go back here, let's say on a project, we have added one new property here. So that, let me just open that. This is the new property, and the name will change, by the way, but it will say retain the confirmed and allocated state of resource plans. This property will only be applicable if you have selected the previous property. So this property is dependent upon the first one. If you have selected both the properties and you are moving your project, in that case, all the confirmed and allocated resource plan on that project will remain in the confirmed or allocated state. That's the point number one. The point number two, that all the resources which were booked, on those plans will also remain as is. The point number three is because the project is now being moved in future, so the allocation will again happen, because in the future, maybe these are not the same resources, their availability might change. So the reallocation will happen, but reallocation will happen with the same resources for the same planned number of hours, FTE, whatever you have said. So you will not, the data will not be lost. So that's the another piece on this one. Okay. Another thing that we have done here is now operational resource plan, as I was telling you, posting the time for the operational resource plan. So for the purpose of this demo, what I have done here is, let me just go back and and take Anna here again. Let me log in here as Anna. Anna is one of the resources who is on the operational resource plan as well as on the project, as you have seen just now. So when she comes here and she goes to timesheet portal, let's say for the last week, and when she comes here and says other, in the other you see she selects, suppose she selects training and goes to add to timesheet. Now when this happens, and suppose she is putting here say 1 hour, now you will see here there is one resource plan. For Anna, there are two operational resource plans which has been created. One is for the training and one is for the KTLO. But depending upon what type of other work you have selected, based on that, we will show you the correct resource plan. So you don't, by mistake also, you don't select the wrong resource plan. Now, how that is happening, let me show you that as well. So let me go back to the system administrator. You will see a new navigation menu right now, which is like mapping of the work. So here it is time card category mapping. These are all out of the box time card categories and the operational work type. So when you will upgrade to Paris, you will see this mapping navigation panel menu, and these will be mapped. So if there is a operational resource plan for training, and you have said here, okay, show me, it is mapped with the operational work type training, you will only see the resource plan for that user for that time period, which is created for the training work, right? You can have your own custom categories, and those custom categories can also be mapped to the operational work type here or whatever you have. So if this category is maintained, your users will get the correct resource plans for the operational work as well. Not only that, when in the Paris, we have also now started creating the expense lines for the operational work. So if you see here that Anna has posted some work here. So for example, it was this one. This expense line has been created for the work that Anna has posted for an issue. But when she was posting the issue, she has selected the KTLO. So that is another piece that you can post the time for the change request, for issue, for PRB, and you can select the KTLO. And that way the work which you are posting, the hours will go against the KTLO work. So I'll take a pause here because I would like to know your feedback on the operational work time posting. Okay, if there is no question, then I think that's all which I wanted to show in the resource plan for the Paris. Back to you, Charles, or back to the audience for any feedback.
So now's that
Let me
time.
tell, I was,
Please.
Go
oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry. I wanted, okay. I was going to try to verify before I asked the question, but I was just curious about the screen that you just showed in entering time, and then the resource plan for the operational work. Will that data be rolled up into the resource aggregate monthly table as well?
It does. It does. So if you go here, let me just show you that as well. It does here. So let me just impersonate as Rosie Matthews once again, because I would like to show you, and very shortly, I'll show you resource aggregate monthly as well. But if you go back to your resource allocation workbench for Anna, right? So Anna has posted time for the last week, I think. And that is why when you expand this, you see on the operational work, March, April should be there. Yeah, actuals, right? So,
okay.
Right, so Anna has posted, yeah, Anna has posted here. So 20 hours are coming here. And one is coming from the work which is here, and second is coming, this is the issue, a scope change with inclusion of this thing, but it goes on to the operational work. So let me go back and show you that resource aggregation monthly for April month. So it does.
I'm curious if it shows operational work or if it shows the KTLO incident.
It will actually show you the operational, like on the resource allocation workbench, it will show you operational work, right? So if you come here and I'll just see it. Do you remember, Scott, what is the category name there? So project allocated, I'll remove that, non-project time. So if I see the non-project time and I'll put here by created. So if you see this one, right, non-project time, and there has to be, there are so many. So I'll also search by ENA here. So this is ENA, right? So if you see for ENA on 15th, which is today, 4.25, 4.5. So this is the non-project time she has put here. So it goes into the resource aggregate monthly.
So we can't tell if it's KTLO or incident or request from this table.
Say again, sorry.
So it looks like we can only see that it's operational. We can't tell if it's KTLO or incident or request. What type we can't tell what type of operational, which is kind of CDI reporting.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, let me try that out and I'll get back to you on that because I don't know how it is getting stored. I hope it does, but where, that I have to see.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Sure. Okay. Any other questions? Back to you, Charles.
All right. So now's the time where anyone and everyone on the call can ask any questions related to the resource management items that were shown. If there's a particular area that maybe you wanted to get a little bit more clarification on, or just a general question around resource management in the Paris release while we have the product experts here. So who would like to jump in with the first question outside of Glenn? Silence. Okay. Are there any particular use cases that you guys are leveraging where you can see some of this functionality might be applicable to get you excited about Paris? Anything that kind of excites you about what's coming down the pipeline?
Are you using resource management?
Hey, Charles, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, it's Diane Kokota from Wellstar. So for us, what we're hoping to get to the point is eventually we want to have a majority of our resources, especially on the IT side, doing Agile. I don't know that by the time Paris comes out that we will have all of those groups moved over. My guess, especially with the COVID and, we're healthcare. So it's pushed back all of our projects significantly. But one of the things that we really want to be able to do is when projects are coming down the pipeline and, let's say we apply a simplified or a generic template to the project. Ideally, what we want to try to do is say, apply what I call a what if scenario. What if I put this project in this period of time? What is the impact on my resourcing, and how does that affect the other projects? So that you end up having a very non-emotional conversation with the owners of the projects to say, okay, so we have prioritized, project B ahead of all of those other ones, and it's going to use up this much resources. What is the impact to those other projects? And then, of course, if you have financials attached to it, you can see any financials that, may have an impact, because there are always situations, at least in healthcare, where, you have to prioritize a project over another one. And at the end of the day, it's actually going to impact our bottom line to the negative, but the non-profitable part of it, which is, providing the important health care to the patient, takes precedence. So will we be seeing anything like that? I mean, for me, that's a huge use case.
Hey, Dan, this is Ben.
Yes.
Um,
Go ahead.
so, so there's a couple, so this actually comes down to more of a process thing as well as the technology thing. So you mentioned Agile. And what you just described there was two things. You described Agile, and what I assume you said Agile, you meant the working teams, right? The people that are physically doing the work. They're working.
Correct.
Right.
And it really is more like, safe or Scrum, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what we'd like to see customers move towards is to get out of because what you described is probably the crux of the most challenging thing in like project management or demand management at all, or portfolio management, is figuring out when I can do stuff due to resource constraints. So in the Agile methodology, what we're trying to push people to doing is, instead of doing that whole thing where you're trying to figure out what resources I've got locked on what projects during what times, is you get your resources all working in various Scrum teams or groups that can do continuous delivery. So they're not spun up or spun down. You've got groups that are doing continuous delivery. By doing that, it then just becomes an exercise of looking at all that work in your demand funnel and giving it a hard priority based on some scoring. And then the only way to change that priority is to redo the scoring somehow, which you absolutely could do if something, say, like COVID-19 happened, right? And then what you'd be able to do then is just be able to move around on that backlog all of the work based on the priority. So you've always got a team continuously delivering. So it's not really a matter of me having to figure out when my resources are available. It's just a matter of putting work up or down on that backlog. Now, I understand you're probably quite a ways away from doing something like that, right? But that's the direction that we want to have customers move to get them away from having to have those like difficult conversations as well as analysis you have to do to be able to figure out which resources are available when, and if we stop a project, what does it impact,
Right. And you're right. We are moving towards that. Of course, right before COVID started, we had launched a fairly significant pilot to teach SAFe and to start building out essentially Scrum teams. And we were focused around our reporting group and the ServiceNow team, because those are the two areas where, quote unquote, there's more development, as opposed to some of the other groups that really kind of they work on either incidents or they work on requests, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course now we've been pushed back, we don't know when, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that is definitely probably the right way. How do you combine so let's talk about, and I don't want to get, it really is part of resourcing, but there's Agile methodology, right? Or Scrum, or whichever one you want to do, but it's all about continuous delivery, right? And things get points and you apply that. The other kind of flavor of that is lean, right? Sorry, not lean,
From.
Oh, I want to say lean kit because that's the tool, but Kanban boards,
Oh,
right?
right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, Kanban boards allow you that
Yeah.
work in progress, right? Which
Right.
is very similar to the WIP. I mean,
Yep.
very
Yep.
similar to the, your Scrum story points for your sprint. But this is more of a what is your WIP based on each individual thing. How do you see ServiceNow merging those two?
Yeah. Okay. So with that, so Kanban is there. There's no sprint, or we can call it sprintless, right? So you don't have a sprint to organize things into time blocks, right? So
Right, that's the
Kanban,
WIP.
yeah, exactly. It's in work in progress or it's not, right? You might have deliverable dates, but that's not really from the working methodology perspective, it's not really a concept there. Dates are more of a business concept, believe it or not. So with that, we have accommodated Kanban teams in ServiceNow by using the story table just like every other product team does, except for you're using the visual task board and using a guided board basically to be able to do all of your Kanban stuff. Now, you're basically just not leveraging sprints or anything like that. You could still leverage release or other components of the Agile product, but you're basically just living in the Agile board on the Kanban board, or we call them VTBs or visual task boards, and you're dragging your cards around.
Yeah, and we do something. We do have a couple of groups that actually work in the visual task boards, and they've gotten very good at it. As I've taught them a little bit about Kanban.
But resource management.
Yeah, but how does it combine with resource management?
Yeah. Okay, so that's where I thought you were going to go next. So this one is, you got to think about resource management a little bit differently when it comes to Agile, because you're no longer resourcing for a specific project or a specific set of work necessarily, but you're resourcing for a team, or you're resourcing for continuous delivery. So you're really almost doing more capacity management than you are doing like traditional resource management. Because what you're doing now is you're saying, okay, I want to know my team that's working on these various applications. I want to know what applications they're working on. I want to know what they're doing. So I'm basically saying, okay, I have a team, whatever that team is, whether it's an actual dedicated team to that application or it's a shared team, whatever it is. I have to put them in a container, like a group, and then I have to give them a resource plan and say, okay, so much of this time is going to be spent on working on this application. So say 50% of my time for this group is going to be working on an application, and then basically I'm going to bill all of my time to that. Whenever I book a story, it's going to go against that resource plan. And when I get any other work that's outside of what's being put on my backlog, like say an incident or some unplanned work or an outage or things like that, where you have to work on some records ad hoc, you book time against those records specifically. And all of the reporting is rolled up and driven by the configuration items or the business applications that are on those record types. So whether it's an incident against a certain application, or it's a epic that's put on my backlog for a certain application, or whatever it is, we can do all the reporting based on the data there. So you're really resourcing for a team, not necessarily for a specific piece of work.
Okay. Yeah. And we actually, when we upgraded to Madrid, we removed the ability for people to book time to individual tickets, mainly because of the volume of tickets that we have. And we actually found that we were spending more time, that the amount of time that the teams were spending booking it to the individual tickets was fairly significant. So we ended up doing something kind of like that non-project. What I saw it when she was showing the boards. The non-project category. Yeah. We basically created a non-project category for a KTLO, and we summarized it in very simplistic forms. It's incident, it's change, it's and then we said spitball it, because the importance of going to that granularity is not as important as the project.
Right. The only thing you lose there, though, is some of the pretty key reporting components, like you mentioned. So you're not gonna ever be able to get, if you don't book to the physical tasks themselves, unless you have a way of, so there's a few ways that I've seen customers do this, but if you're booking to the task itself, you get the advantage of looking at that CI field right there. So you can say things like, what application had the most time spent on it, right? And what's my cost of labor for a given application or business service or something, right? Anything you're booking time towards. If you just do it in a lump sum, you might be able to say, okay, I know this was operation time or incident time, but I don't know what particular application, what's consuming this time. Those are the questions that usually leadership wants to know, especially when it comes to when you start to use APM or enterprise architecture. You bring enterprise architecture in to do application rationalization or do some technology road mapping for yourself internally. You want to have that data, like how much does it cost to maintain this application, and what's the customer satisfaction score, and all these indicators that go along with that. So all that ties back to partially having that data, that link between the time cards and the CI items that you're working on. Now, with that said, does that mean you have to book against every single incident, every single change request? Absolutely not. You can take that to a little bit of a different level. And Scott and I have seen other folks at other companies where they'll make an operational project to organize some of this labor that's being spent on applications and services, giving them a single task to book to, as opposed to having to book to every single incident or whatever, right? That way you're at least still getting the data about what application am I working on and what CI is being touched with the labor, but you don't have to book to every single incident and have that be a little bit more cumbersome. So we can work with you offline on that one, Diane, if you're interested in learning more about how we've seen other customers do that.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, Diane, this is Scott too. I want to comment on a little bit further on our roadmap, but there's a concept coming up in the future called owner workspace, which is kind of the concept of I'm an owner of a business service or an application or something, right? And you want to look at the health and status of everything that comes together. So it's unification of not just ITBM, but ITSM too, right? So service management. So you're looking at all the incidents that are impacting that particular application that supports that particular service, as an example, right? Therefore, what Ben was describing is the lower granularity you have of where that stuff is being tracked at a service level, even an operations level, either one, that is tied to that CI. That's where all that data starts rolling up. Then you get that collection at the top. So we can show you give you some examples and show you some stuff and give you a picture of that what that's going to look like.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Thank you.
Yep.
So this is Charles. I wanted to make sure too that the other customers, thank you, Diane, for that. That was a really great dialogue there around the different types of methodology, different ways of looking at what if through resource management type of scenarios. Are other customers that are on the line right now experiencing kind of similar needs and kind of requests around how best to look at how to kind of forecast, et cetera, when resources are going to be available, et cetera, and then kind of the information that Ben provided on kind of the best practice, does that resonate with you guys on how to start looking at that from the methodologies you are leveraging? Or is there a different type of way that you guys are looking to handle or address that same scenario? Silence. Okay. Well, I will also too say that we are going to have an office hour to kind of cover some of the Agile capabilities and functionality in the Paris release later on this year around November timeframe. So I'll definitely make sure to invite those who are interested in that topic as well. Are there any other questions or comments that you guys have? Any other possible examples you would like to see from the team while we have them? We have about 10 minutes left for this office hour. Great. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I think we can end early then, 10 minutes, unless Ben, Scott, and Namita, you guys had anything else you want to share?
No, not from my side, Charles. Only I'm very much interested in the feedback even later to understand what this group would like to see and how they feel about the Paris features.
You bet. Well, thank you so much, Namita, for your presentation and overview. Thank you, Ben and Scott, for your commentary as well as always. Thank you, customers who joined for this office hour. We are going to have another office hour related to virtual agent and other things coming up at the end of this month. So sent invites to you guys already. Let me know if you also too are interested that I haven't sent invites to. But thank you all so much. There will be a survey that will be sent out. Please fill that out and let us know how we did, as well as the functionality you're highly interested in. Take care, all.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.